In this video, I'll tell you how to get over the fear of missing out, or FOMO, in wargaming. I've decided to give up on FOMO, the fear of missing out. I must not FOMO. FOMO is the mind killer. FOMO is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my FOMO. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the FOMO has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. Anyway, yeah, not going to play that FOMO game anymore. And, maybe you shouldn't either. The fear of missing out as it relates to wargaming is the idea that if you don't kind of scramble to get the new hotness as soon as it comes out in stores or on the website, then you'll miss it. For most companies in the wargaming space, this is a silly fear, right? Like, they generally have enough product to fulfill demand. This is usually the way companies work. However, some companies like to kind of instill that fear into you that you might miss out. And with most companies, that fear is generally short-term, right? Like, they might be sold out now, but they'll make more and be back in stock soon. Living through something like this, it just requires patience, really. It's not that big of a deal. Like, okay, the initial run sold out. Life will go on. Generally, you'll have to wait a while until the next production run is available in stores, and then you'll be able to get it. You'll live. However, some companies use this as a marketing strategy and do this probably on purpose. Games Workshop is one of those companies, in my opinion, so much so that people familiar with the company refer to many of the boxes that they release as FOMO boxes because it is known that usually there won't be near enough of them made. Like I said, it's become a marketing tactic. Sometimes they make almost enough of the product, but there's like one special figure that's in that box that is only available in that box, so I guess you better get that box if you want it, right? Now, to be fair, usually that model will eventually be available separately, but you don't want to wait, do you, right? I mean, honestly, that's how the Kill Team quarterly boxes have worked for years now. If you only like one force in the box, there's two forces in the box, but if you only like one of them and not the other, then you'll just have to wait 3 months or more to just get the force that you like. But like I said before, I must not FOMO. FOMO is the mind killer. I've got 2 tips on how you can avoid your fear of missing out in wargaming. Now, some of these may seem obvious to some folks, but remember, not everyone has the same amount of experience in wargaming that you do, and this channel is mainly about getting new people into wargaming, so I like to make sure that I explain things to new wargamers. Now, that said, there's certainly still tricks that old dogs can learn too. And also, if you can, add your anti-FOMO tricks to the comments down below if I miss something. Big tip number 1. Just stop it. It's probably the most difficult of these 2 tips, but just stop being afraid of missing out. In most situations, you're not actually missing out anyway. You're just not getting it during the artificially built up release hype on the product. You'll probably end up getting it later on in a different box, whatever it is, And also, how fast do you really paint anyway, right? Why do you need it now? Maybe if you're a competitive player, I suppose, who's chasing the meta, then maybe. I don't know. But if you're watching this channel, then, chances are you're probably not much of a meta chaser, really. The reason that you think that you need it now is because they've trained you into believing it. And, they're not the only ones, if I'm honest, either, right? Other companies outside of the wargaming space do the same thing. Nintendo, Apple, Samsung, they all build hype by not having enough at launch, and people see long lines and scalpers prices on eBay, and they are like trained to get excited and feel the fear of missing out. It's a human response, and marketers have been employing psychologists for years to play on your emotions. However, those other companies like Nintendo and Apple and whatnot, they might be sold out now at launch, but you'll eventually be able to get it at some point in the future, right? Like that iPhone 23 Pro Max Pro S will eventually just be a thing that you'll be able to walk into a store and buy like a normal human. It might be a few months from now, but those companies are so massive because they want to actually sell stuff. They will continue to produce products because they want people to buy them. Games Workshop isn't as big as those folks, right? Like everyone needs smartphones and video game consoles and whatnot, so those companies have a much larger audience to serve products to. Therefore, they can only make so much at once, but they continue to produce their products until everyone who wants to get one can get one, as long as they, cough up the money, of course. Games Workshop isn't Apple or Microsoft. They have a far smaller audience. A huge audience in wargaming, to be sure, right? But wargaming is a very, very small audience in comparison to video games, for example. So instead, Games Workshop frequently underproduces these FOMO boxes, and if you don't get them at launch, then they're gone. Except, usually many of the parts will actually end up for sale separately in other boxes, maybe standalone boxes, whatever, in the future. As it turns out, metal molds for making miniatures are very expensive, and it doesn't make good financial sense to make an expensive mold and then just produce a small number of models, with it. Now, admittedly, there might be like a codex with like a custom cover in that FOMO box or something like that, but otherwise it's nothing really special. Much of Just Stop It is just deciding that you just don't want to be a part of the FOMO culture anymore. If you can't get something because they won't make enough, then don't worry about it. Use proxy models, maybe something cool that you found on My Mini Factory and either 3D printed yourself or had a friend print it for you. Or kit bash something out of like a current model with all kinds of fun parts that you add on to like replace the new model that they didn't want to make enough of, evidently. Don't buy it from scalpers because that just makes things worse. You don't need it, whatever it is. And for the second tip, start playing other games. Like I said earlier, Games Workshop seems to be the only wargaming company that continuously has these production problems that increase FOMO. Other companies don't nearly as much. Now, sure, like sometimes stuff is out of stock at other wargaming companies from time to time, but it usually comes back into stock pretty soon after. It doesn't seem to be a marketing ploy with other companies in many situations. It's just that sometimes stuff sells quicker than they think it will, or there's like a big supply chain problem, or whatever might be going on. But it gets solved by other game companies. So buy from those companies instead. Now, if you just can't enjoy any other rules other than Warhammer rules, then I guess maybe, play those rules, but buy your miniatures from somewhere else. I mentioned playing with proxies via kit bashing or 3D printing in the last tip. That can be models from other companies too, not just kit bashes or 3D prints. Remember, every war game is miniatures agnostic if you believe in yourself. Even Games Workshop games, especially Games Workshop games. If you don't ever want to deal with FOMO ever again in your wargaming, then the best thing that you can do is get into miniature agnostic games that are available as PDFs or print on demand. Then you'll never find the game rules out of stock. That doesn't happen with PDFs and POD games. And if the game is miniatures agnostic, then you can use models you already have if you want, or if you want to buy new models, then you can get ones that are in stock from any company that you like, or 3D printing, or eBay used models, or swap meets, or whatever. If you don't like FOMO, and honestly, who does, right? Then it's actually quite easy to not be affected by it. Don't worry about it if you can't get the thing now. You'll probably be able to get it later on. Or Just make it so that FOMO isn't in your hobby anymore by playing other games that don't use FOMO as marketing. Or get into miniatures agnostic PDF and print-on-demand type games with 3D printed miniatures where FOMO can't even rear its ugly head. Remember, you're the consumer of these non-necessary entertainment goods. You are the one with the power. Vote with your wallet. Have you been affected by FOMO at some point in your wargaming career? I know I have. But I've now actively fought against it, and I feel better about my hobby. And like I asked before, what are your anti-FOMO tricks and tips? Drop them down below in the comments area there so we can all live better lives with less fear of missing out. And if you'd like to lessen my fear of YouTube's algorithm, please engage in some depressmentation of the like button down there below as well. It really helps. And again, while you're down there, subscribe to see more videos from me every single Friday. It's free. Thanks for watching.